Welcome on Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton. This is a special edition. We're going to talk about the portal transfers and expectations for 2025. And those guys, Texas signing 11 portal transfers between the winter and spring portal period, Gerry. 3 on offense, 6 on defense, and 2 special teamers. We're going to try to break it down for folks. This episode brought to you by our friends over at Hardgrove Roofing. Hardgrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. Give them a call, 512-645-3202. They're all across the state of Texas, as well as Arkansas and Louisiana. We'll tell you a little bit more about them later. All right, Gerry, let's just get going and talk a little bit about the portal class overall. I mentioned those numbers, 3, 6, and 2. 3 offensive players, 6 defensive players, 2 specialists. Obviously, Texas needed help on defense. 5 of those 6 came at defensive tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the number one way I look at this portal class right now, if you count the 2 specialists, I think they got 7 to 8 starter level players. I mean, that is a huge number for a team that has recruited 4 straight top 5 classes in a number 1 class last year. That is a huge number. And, you look at that defensive line class is one of those guys will start. One of those guys won't, but he'll play starter level snaps. A third or fourth is also going to play and be part of the team and may play key snaps and may have a key role. You get to guys like Brad Spence, who's playing more edge and linebacker this year. Big time pass rush prospect. I mean, so you look at that, the D line, I think the 5 guys they got out of the portal, and I've said it before, I just think the D line is going to be better on the interior this year, especially against the run than it was a year ago. And I think they got a couple of draft picks out of that group too on the interior to D line.
Yeah, I think they would probably agree with you behind the scenes. Let's do this. As we go down this list, we're going to kind of give you our predictions and based on what we're hearing behind the scenes. And we're going to do it position by position. Let's start with quarterback Matthew Caldwell, the Troy transfer. Started the last 5 games of his career at Troy before transferring to Texas this spring series. He had also been a starter at Jacksonville State up in Alabama before transferring to Troy. So he's got some starter experience, Gerry. He is in a battle right now with Trey Owens for the backup job. We're hearing that Caldwell may be a little bit of ahead because of that playing experience, especially as we go into what is going to be a hornet's nest in Columbus, Ohio. That being said, this position is far from done. These 2 scrimmages coming up, one that takes place on Saturday around 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, will be a big one for that backup quarterback race. But what are you hearing behind the scenes that makes you think that makes you think Caldwell may end up being the pick at backup quarterback?
Yeah, I just think he's more polished and he's got the experience, right? I think the ball gets out a little quicker and gets to the right guy a little more. And that's not a knock on Trey Owens. Trey Owens is a young quarterback. Matthew Caldwell has a lot of college experience. He's played it. He's seen it. When the walls start closing in with pressure, he's felt it before, right? So he's not taken off his platform or out of a play as quickly. He's just got that experience. And look, I think this is going to end up being a very valuable pickup in the portal because we hope it doesn't happen, but Sark has never – the quarterback injuries happen. The starting quarterback has been hurt every season at Texas since Sark's been here. It's college football, look around. It's happening. I think Matthew Caldwell, there will be a key spot or 2 this season where people are going to say, wow, Sark was really smart to go get this guy out of the portal. If it's a road game at an Ohio State, a Georgia, or Florida, would you rather at least have a guy that's played? Or even as a guy like Trey Owens has upside, would you rather have a guy that's played and experienced it before? Because when you play on those teams, you're on the road against better opponents a lot of times in the non-con.
Yeah, I would say this, based on what I've heard, very detail-oriented, gets to the handoffs quicker, just small things.
Yeah.
And I think there's 2 things to think about here. One is he's not as toolsy as Trey Owens. Trey Owens has a huge arm. can make the downfield throws, etc. So what Matthew Caldwell excels at are actually the small things, the getting the ball out quicker, the things that give him an actual opportunity to play at the college level. And as a backup, when you're trying to finish a game out, for example, that may be what you're looking at for most as a head coach. So we'll see. This is not, by the way, this is not done. This position is not done. They've got 2 scrimmages. We'll see how it goes. And I think it could go well into the football season. All right, Jerry.
One other point we need to make, athleticism. He has a huge advantage there.
Yes, he does. He can run a little bit. Yeah, no doubt. All right. Let's go to wide receiver real quick. Emmett Mosley, the 5th, comes to Texas after having a breakout freshman campaign. Only 9 games, 40-some-odd catches for, I think, 48 catches for the Stanford Cardinal last year, and really looked good doing it. Jerry, he's the 3rd wide receiver, but it sounds more and more like to you and me, this is really a 4 wide receiver core at this point. I want to point that out because I think Mosley is one of the top guys, but I think more what we're thinking right now is the circle of trust is 4, and Mosley definitely one of those, along with Parker Livingstone, and of course returners Ryan Wingo as well as DeAndre Moore.
Yeah, look, I think it's I think they have 3 guys who are really, really, really good college players right now. DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo, and Emmett Mosley. And I think Parker Livingstone's going to have to prove that on Saturdays, right? He's looked good in the practice setting, spring practice when we were there, but then he's got to go do it in the game. The thing I like about Emmett Mosley, Bobby, is like we're talking production. He had 48 catches for 525 as a freshman last year, and that was over 9 games. So that's not even over 12 games. I tend to think he is going to have a sneaky big season. I'm talking 55 for 650. Wow. 60 catches for 700 plus. And the reason I say that is he even caught in his first college football game, he caught 7 against Clemson. Not many yards, but he caught 7 passes. But his last 3 games of his freshman year, it's Louisville at home was a ranked team, at Cal and at San Jose State. He had 26 receptions for 332 yards. He had 2 100-yard games with 5 touchdowns the last 3 games. I mean, I think he is not just going to have a good season. I think he's going to have an eye-opening season.
So you peg him at around 55 catches. I put the over-under for him at 45. Yeah. Because I do think, frankly, Stanford runs more stop routes.
Yeah.
It may have had to, given their quarterback situation a year ago. But that being said, he ties in nicely with Jack Endries, the tight end. Yeah. Because where I think the young man from Cal that some people have as a 2nd team or 3rd team All-American, one of the top returning tight ends in the country, had 50-plus catches at Cal a year ago. How I think Mosley and Endries work well together, Jerry, is I think they could both be 3rd down outlets, key ones for Arch Manning.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I think the thing about Endries as well is I think he's going to have a big year too. And I think one of the reasons Emmett Mosley and Endries are going to have such big seasons is because Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore are on this team. Yeah. So that's kind of part of it. I think these 4 guys are really good together. And I think it makes Texas a tough team to defend. And again, I look at Endries last year. Here's the one thing I look at with him that I think really benefits him and Arch Manning. Fernando Mendoza may be an NFL quarterback. He may be a draft pick, right?
The former guy at Cal that's now
at yeah. So Endries is already been catching passes at Cal from a guy in Mendoza who's pretty talented. So that's going to benefit Arch. It's also going to benefit Jack. I think the biggest difference for Jack Endries this year at Texas versus last year at Cal, he had 2 touchdown receptions, and they were both in early October. I think he's going to find the end zone more. I could see him putting up similar stats to Cal last year, 56 catches for 625. But he only had 2 touchdowns. I bet he triples that at Texas this year. If not, catches a couple more than that. If not, gets 7 or 8.
I put the over-under for him at 55 for the year catches, because Texas Sark just uses the tight end that way.
Yes.
So that's just a kind of a historical number for me. I would add this, and looking at offense as a whole before we move on to the defense. I would say that the difference between this portal class and previous ones for Texas is the 2 previous ones you added Adonai Mitchell, who was a first-round level haymaker, right? I mean, that was a big-time player. And you added Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond last year, okay? I don't know that Texas added those kind of difference-making playmakers at that level that were in their final campaign. That's my like, if they could have gotten a Chris Bell from Louisville at wide receiver, who almost went in the portal, we're told, that would have been a different caliber and something else we would talk about. So I wonder if they got that ultra playmaker like they did with Golden and Mitchell before. So just something to think about there as we look throughout the year and what this comes out. All right, before we go to defense, I want to say thank you real quick, if you don't mind, to our friends over at Hardgrove Roofing. At Hardgrove, they have offices throughout the state of Texas, including Austin, obviously, as well as Louisiana and Arkansas. Hardgrove Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs, plus they're Longhorn friendly. With partners like former defensive tackle Stevie Lee and new kicker Mason Shipley, they are the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. No one wants to turn their home over to a company they can't trust. So call Hardgrove today for a free, no strings attached roof inspection. That's 512-645-3202, or just go to hardgroveroofing.com. If you're outside the city of Austin and elsewhere in Texas. They also are sponsored by the Houston Astros as well, Jerry. So they are all over the place right now. Billy Hardgrove and that team doing good work. All right, let's go forward. Defense. I mean, look, I said there's 6 guys. 5 are on the interior, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention 2 guys off the cuff just immediately. Maraad Watson and Travis Shaw. Okay. Neither were available for spring. Only Cole Brevard and Hero Canoe were. Watson and Shaw, I don't want to say they've been revelations for this defense, but Texas now has playmakers at defensive tackle, where I think Cole Brevard in spring and even Hero Canoe were fillers. They were run stoppers. They weren't necessarily big-time playmakers, right? Watson and Shaw add that element to the game. Let's start with Maraad Watson, because I've just heard behind the scenes they're really, really happy with a young man that's a true sophomore now, transferred in from Syracuse.
Yeah, first off, looked great to our eyes last week in the first couple of days of practice where media was allowed in. But there's a couple of things with Maraad Watson. We've said time and time again he's a freshman All-American. I do think that has meaning because he did it in the Power 4 conference. In his last half of the year was really good after he got his feet wet. 2, how good did Texas think this guy was? They already had 4 guys in the portal when they still went after him at the position.
Yep.
That tells you a lot. Like, that tells you a lot behind the scenes when he went into the portal, what Kenny Baker and the defensive staff's thoughts were on this guy, because you already had 4 guys coming in, and they're like, nope, we got to have this one. Well, should we be surprised he's kicking tail? Probably not. I mean, probably not. And he has – look, I think he has the highest upside of any interior defensive line in the program. I don't – and I'm not even sure it's close. I think this guy could be a high draft pick, like top 2 round guy.
I was told that the tandem of Maraad Watson and Alex January, the true sophomores, they wouldn't trade those 2 for any tandem in the country at that same age group.
Sophomore, yeah.
They really believe in both those guys. Travis Shaw, talk about revelations now, 340 pounds or so. I mean, depending on what he ate for dinner. He, in what I'm being told, is he really, really benefited, they believe, from sitting out this spring and getting his knee scoped and cleaned up, and has come back and in teamwork this fall camp has really shown what he can be for them. He's made disruptive plays. He's been smart. He's been high effort. I think the other thing is this is a guy that needed fewer plays. He didn't need more plays because he's so darn big. They feel like he is primed for a really big year for them.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing about Travis Shaw. So he came out of high school, out of Greensboro, I think at Grimsley High School, maybe it was, as a 5-star prospect. So what happens then? The expectations are boom, first-round pick. Boom's going to go to North Carolina and be a dominant player in the ACC. So when that doesn't happen, people call, oh, this guy's a bust. He's not as good as he was expected to be and all that. He still has 55 career tackles in 3 seasons of college football. And he hasn't played 3 full seasons yet due to those injuries. I mean, he's averaged, I think, 8.5 games a season. So he still is a guy that has 55 career tackles in 3 years of college football at the Power 4 level. So it's not like he hadn't been productive. He's been more productive than Vernon was at the same time, and almost as much as Alfred Collins was at the same time, despite the injuries. So if Travis Shaw's fully healthy and it's his contract year, it's like Alfred Collins was last year. It's put up or shut up time. You're going to go be the guy everybody thought you were going to be and go get drafted. Texas could have a real steal if he stays healthy.
I think those two. That's why I wanted to start the defensive tackle group off. Cole Brevard, we've talked about previously because he was here in spring. Same with Hero Canoe. Brevard is that run stopper up the middle. Canoe is interesting because he is more of a rotational piece, and he's a guy that he doesn't have an outstanding trait.
Right.
I'm trying to, like, you can position at this level. A lot of what teams are looking for are those pieces where you do something really, really good. Like Watson has been a disruptor. Shaw is just so big and quick. Brevard is a run stopper. Hero Canoe is more that guy that does a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see what he does. And then also I wanted to mention Levon Johnson, young man out of Maryland that came in. He just is now getting back. He was actually sidelined early in camp with a ankle injury, but is expected to be back now. We'll see how he does in this spring or in the scrimmage this weekend. But I've been told that they expect him to play too and be in the rotation as well.
Yeah, so I want to start with Brevard because I think he has a huge role on this team. When Texas goes to Florida, and I'm not bypassing the other games, when they go to Florida and they're lined up against, and the D tackles lined up against a All-American center, Jake Slaughter, and Florida's going to want to run the ball downhill. Cole Brevard has a huge role on this team this year. And whether he'll play starter snaps, I think, in some games for sure. He's played a ton of snaps. And I think the good thing for Brevard at Texas, he's had to play tired a lot at Purdue. So Purdue, they got some of his best snaps, but not all of his best snaps because he had to play so many snaps as a guy over the ball, just taking up taking up 2 linemen at a time, right? Texas is going to get fresh snaps from him consistently. And I think that's big for Cole Brevard. But he is going to play a very important role on this team because him and Travis Shaw and Maraad Watson against the run with their experience in college football, I think is going to be so impactful and circle about 3 or 4 games. But Cole Brevard, he may be a little underrated because I think Maraad Watson and Alex January and Shaw are going to make more of the plays that people talk about. But Cole Brevard against the run has a huge responsibility. Levon Johnson's sneaky good. When he's healthy, he's been productive. Let's see where he's at if he gets healthy this year. And Hero Canoe, I think technically has 2 years. Levon Johnson has 2 years. Obviously, Maraad Watson has 2 years. That's what I like about some of these other guys.
Brad Spence, the next guy we want to talk about, Jerry, the linebacker from Arkansas, playing edge mostly for Texas. 4.5 sacks last year. I put an over and under on this, and this is at an 8 for sacks this year. I really believe he's going to be that effective coming off the edge, spelling Colin Johnson, and perhaps being the other edge in a NASCAR type package for Texas. One of the things I heard that Texas, again, their training staff identified some issues with Brad Spence when he first got to Texas, and it was not diagnosed. He was having problems. I mean, he was having problems doing 20 inches vertical without feeling pain. Yet he played with that in 2024 and still had 4.5 sacks.
Yeah.
They made the decision right then and there, hey, let's sit him out this spring and get this thing taken care of. There's not a person in that building that won't tell you that Brad Spence is one of the rocked up most dudes in that locker room. There's no room for more muscles, basically. What do you think of Brad Spence? Because I know this is one of your favorites and has been for quite a while.
I look, 54 tackles, 4.5 sacks in the SEC as a linebacker is nothing to sneeze at in year two. I think he's a future.
And he had a sack against Texas too,
against Kelvin Banks. Yeah, and I think he's a future NFL player. I think his role will expand the longer he's at Texas, but I think he's going to have a really, really good season. And I think similar, but more so than Cole Brevard, it may be more on the Maraad Watson line. He's going to be really impactful for this team.
Interesting. I think right now, Watson, Shaw, Spence, Brevard, of those six, those are the four that I think of the defensive players that are a little bit ahead, in my opinion. In my opinion. All right. The special teams guys. Look, Mason Shipley, the kicker out of Liberty Hill by way of Texas State. He's a fifth-year guy. He is expected to win the kicking job, but he hasn't won it yet. I want to put this out there, and I try to explain this at ontexasfootball.com if you have a subscription there. You don't win that job until you win it in scrimmages.
Right.
Because even though you have a better leg, even though you're more consistent in regular practice, they want to see you with some game on the line type scenarios. So Will Stone does have some experience in that role for Texas. While we think that the leg of Mason Shipley will eventually win out, we don't know that for sure yet. We have heard good things behind the scenes. Let's go on to Jack Bouwmeester, because I think this is the one that changes the game for Texas potentially, Gary. And that's the punter from Utah, Australian, fifth-year guy or 60-year guy, whatever he is. I just basically hearing what I've heard, he averaged 44-plus yards a kick last year. They expect 45-plus this year possibly from him.
Yeah, I think there's three areas with him. First is kicks inside the 20 that are down at the 15 with an experienced punter. Those get to be inside the 10 at about the 6 to 7 to 8. And that's a huge difference if you already have a great pass rush and a great defense. So I think he's going to help Texas maximize their defense in ways like that. The other thing is I think he has the ability to flip the field. So, Texas defense was put in some really tough positions last year, whether it was turnovers on their own end of the field or whether it was inconsistent punting from a freshman who's now at Cal, and you think he can go on to be a good punter, but it was a true freshman last year who wasn't in for spring, by the way. But flip the field helps the defense, right? Can change some momentum in a game at times. The third thing is consistent trajectory of punts. If you can limit in the return game that net average, if he gets more consistent trajectory on his punts, better coverage, less return yards, more fair catches. I think there's three ways he's really going to help this program.
Jerry, I think Bouwmeester might be in the prize of the whole class. I mean, I think from a standpoint of solidifying all three phases of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there were punts out there when we were there both times that were 4.5 to 5 seconds in hang time. So he's not just getting distance.
Yeah.
I mean, they are legit NFL caliber punts.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Let's circle back now. We've talked about all of them individually, and I want to ask you a couple of different things. Starters from this group. I think there are two on offense for sure.
Yeah.
And Emmett Mosley and Jack Endries. They're already starting in practices.
Yes.
So they're going to get starter snaps. On defense, starter snaps, if you're asking me, Watson, Shaw, and Brevard likely to get starter snaps. You agree with that?
100%. And Alex January, that's your four-man rotation, and then they fill it in behind it.
Okay, got it. And then Brad Spence won't necessarily get starter level snaps, but he'll get heavy rotation level snaps probably 20 to 30 a game, with Colin Simmons getting the other 30 to 40.
Yeah.
You agree with that kind of split between those two?
Yeah.
And then obviously Shipley, we're still not 100% sure of, but believe he'll win it. And Bowmeister will be your punter. So that literally is 6 to 7 true impact players out of an 11-man portal class that some rank in the top 15 or 20 or so in portal rankings. And I'm going to tell you this, if they get 6 or 7 starters out of the portal and you're the number 1 ranked team in the country, it's better than that. So hats off to the Texas personnel staff, as well as everybody that played a role in that, from assistant coaches on down. So, all right, that's going to do it for today's special episode of On Texas Football, breaking down the portal guys and the expectations of what we've seen thus far. We want to say thank you again to our sponsor. That is Hardgrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. HardgroveRoofing.com, 512-645-3202. Give Billy Hardgrove and those guys a call. Again, 512-645-3202. For Gerry Hamilton, as well as our producer, Matt Hutchinson, I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good day. Hook 'em horns.